Slave. Wow. Oingo, Boingo.
Somebody had lots of coffee today.
Oh, yeah. I had 2 cups.
Wow.
No, you know what? It's funny, Stephanie. You're absolutely right. I am so amped right now. I can't control my body.
Did something good happen this morning besides the coffee that got you there?
No.
Okay.
No, I was on a panel. There was a webinar that RCR Wireless hosted. Sean Kinney, I don't know if you guys know him. He's a great guy.
On Open RAN or what?
No, on 5G and will 6G save it type of thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so, yeah, just got off of that, and I had like 2 cups of coffee, and I'm out of my mind right now.
Can never do the second one. I only can do one each day. I can't do the second one.
I do like.
You were talking if 6G will save 5G?
Yeah, something like that.
Is that basically someone finally admitting that 5G hadn't worked out the way people hoped?
Yeah, we're talking about yeah.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah, basically.
That seems to be our common theme with all of the spiced up tech stuff. It's like overhype, and then you get the letdown. It's like that's the new wave. That's our trough.
But here's the thing that really bothers me, though. I mean, isn't the definition of stupid doing the same thing over and over again, expecting
something different? Yeah,
that's just stupid, right? I mean, I'm just saying.
Everyone's just like hoping that they hang their hat on something that sticks. Let's pray. Like, this is the year. We're gonna like invest all of this. We're gonna put our marketing out, and then boom, it's gonna happen. And we haven't seen that in a long time. So
imagine if we told mobile operators around the world, take what investment dollars you have, don't buy new spectrum, keep using LTE advanced, but then increase your coverage, spend your money on backhaul, and front haul, go to
mid haul,
100 gigabit, the Ethernet in the front haul, get more fiber. You'll get more love from your customers when you do those kind of things that aren't as public, and they're not as expensive as a spectrum auction,
Not as expensive, but they're also just not making money off smartphones.
Yeah.
That volume, we're tapped out. They're just that's why I say they're throwing stuff against the walls. Is they're like, what is the next big thing? Because they just aren't making money off of just general talk, text, and data traffic right now with consumers.
Yeah.
So
when I heard you, I thought more that you were saying, 5G, later, do it later. I didn't think that was good. Or save it for later. That's what I heard. You're saying exactly opposite.
Yeah.
Step over 5G and just go straight to 6. Huh?
Yeah.
Well, what do you think that they're just like, because for a while it was, oh my gosh, we just got to compete with China. We're so far behind, we're just, and, like what's the driving factor? Why they just keep going and going and going, but they're just not really presenting the use cases that actually are bringing in the kind of revenue that they were expecting.
Well, I mean, I think it's the detachment between what's actually happening with the technology and the standards, and then how people have been talking about. So one of my main points as a panelist on that discussion was, it's not the technology's fault; it's people's fault. People are the ones who got everything wrong. Reality is reality, and when operators push back on SA and say, no, we need some kind of transitionary stage, it is what it is. And some of the technologists might have really hated to having to accommodate all these different options and stuff like that for transition toward more of a pure 5G network. But these are necessities that you had to factor into your roadmap, and they did. And so they got some things wrong where people got everything wrong. Was all the friggin' intercontinental, ballistic, sidewalk surgery crap. That just didn't make any sense. And nobody said that it didn't make any sense. They actually went and started marketing using that as like the killer use case. It's like,
Yeah.
no.
Can I take us back to guitars?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can try.
So I just want to, because it's apropos to some of the stuff that Leonard plays when he's playing Van Halen.
Fancy.
So I went and saw the Foo Fighters in Seattle on Sunday night, and they did a 3-hour show. Foo Fighters. And what was cool, though, is, Dave Grohl is a rock and roll historian. He has all these documentaries and everything, and he tries to lift all boats. He wants rock. I feel like sometimes they're keeping rock and roll alive. But there was a part in the show, maybe 1/3 into it, where he's like, "Do you guys love rock and roll?" And then they start singing riffs from Ozzy Osbourne, from Metallica, and everything. But their lead guitarist, Chris Shiflett, he gets in there and starts playing Eruption.
Uh-huh.
And they go, and people were just, heads were exploding,
Really?
Yeah, he was in. And so that was just like, that was so cool. But it was like, we love rock and roll. You love it. And they were just playing little clips from some of the biggest hardcore, rock bands of all time. So it was awesome seeing them play Eruption.
Yeah.
It was a neat vibe.
Yeah.
Are there any clips of that floating around?
I don't know. There might be. But
yeah, you have to share it.
But the key thing to do what Eddie does is, both hands are right up here doing the thing to make all that work, But I've heard you do stuff similar to that, Leonard.
Yeah.
I did some kind of interview with the team or with the band, so there must be something going on. So I'm sure there's a video of it.
Yeah.
Like a revival or something for them.
I bet if you do, their lead guitarist Chris Shiflett, it's like Shiflett. If we probably typed in his name and the word Eruption, we could probably see him, channeling Eddie Van Halen. Yeah. So, anyway, that was good. It's still all about rock and roll, folks. Just as a reminder,
it is. It just boils down to rock.
Always about rock and roll. Yeah.
So, hey everybody, welcome to not AI OT Coffee Talk. It's IoT Coffee Talk still.
Not AI.
Tried it. I tried to sell it on, one of our key stakeholders who is Rob Tiffany, and he gave it the middle finger. So yes, we are not going down the AIoT path. That is a no-go, right? Rob, is that sort of what?
Don't be like Bosch and the Eclipse Foundation from 3 years ago when they thought putting an A in front of IoT was going to save IoT. It didn't work.
It didn't work out. So we're gonna continue to milk IoT for all that it is not worth. But
in Stephanie's new quadrant, we're in the letdown phase.
Yeah, we're getting let down.
See, we should come up with our own terminology for those phases, and letdown is perfect for trough of
the reality curve.
Yeah, kind of like 5G. Like, the fact that people are having panel discussions saying, "Can 6G save 5G?"
Yeah.
No one ever had these same discussions about LTE. LTE got going, people rolled it out, and it changed the world because that's gave power to all these apps.
Yeah,
to
data.
Uber, to so many apps.
It was all about the apps with LTE.
Yeah.
And don't forget, it's still all about the apps with anything.
Always.
When you're talking about public cloud, when you're talking about for anything you're talking about in tech, they are all in service to the apps.
Yeah.
It's all just plumbing, it's all infrastructure, but don't forget, it's always about the apps. Could be a back-end system powering your app that's on your phone.
Yeah.
Everything we do, don't ever forget that.
Yeah. And that's a good point. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the phone. It's distributed, right? And then if you look at all these new endpoints they're trying to introduce into the quote unquote 5G or mobile wireless fold, it might not necessarily be the case that the application runs solely on the endpoint device, it could be distributed. And I don't think that the thinking has gone past sort of the legacy way of thinking of things. Like one of the things I brought up was, everything is 6G actually just looks like a rehashing or a progressive incremental progression of things that are in 5G. And actually 5G advanced, it looks pretty damn good. I mean, there's a lot in there for the industry to work through in terms of like scope of new stuff as well as depth of complexity and capability, right? But what about uplink? And then, the panel actually, oh shit. Yeah, it's like, look, everyone's been talking about cellular for industrial, but all the data goes up. It doesn't come down.
Right.
It's like, what part of that did you guys never understand,
Yes. Whenever I hear someone, I'm not going to name his name, talk about how critical 5G is for factories in Industry 4.0, and they start talking good game about using 5G in a factory, and I'm just like, yeah,
that never went anywhere.
It didn't go anywhere, and we've tried that already. And good luck beating Ethernet.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Ethernet, and then Wi-Fi, 7, 8 coming up. It's just
Wi-Fi 7 is smoking fast, and Ethernet is always the backbone there.
Yeah.
Fiber is your long-range backbone across the planet. Ethernet is your backbone when you're inside the factory, the corporation. Because remember, even when you're doing Wi-Fi, there's still wires inside the ceiling and everything. That Wi-Fi access point is just kind of like the last mile or the last 20 feet.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Rob, we've had some conversation in the past too. I remember you were talking about, when we were talking about cloud and edge, you were talking about, instead of thinking about the edge and then the cloud somewhere, there could be applications running even at the like at the towers, maybe even, right? Closer to whatever happened to that in 5G. Do you have any examples of anybody doing it?
People dabbled in it. Yeah, so the telcos, the mobile operators, were late to the party around edge. People like you who were doing edge in a factory with a ruggedized little PC talking to machines, you were early. That's what the edge really was early on. And so the mobile operators, they're scrambling. Let's just call it what it is. The marketers for Ericsson and Nokia and everybody were like, well, wait a second. What if we do edge compute at the base station, like that little shack at the bottom of the cell tower? What if we put edge compute there? And so the latency from the source, wherever it is, to there, if you're using cellular, is only whatever, 1 millisecond or something like that.
Yeah.
Versus waiting till you get all the way to your distant cloud, right?
Yep.
And so there was a lot of talk, and Verizon did stuff with AWS Outpost and some, a bunch of people did collabs.
Wavelength stuff.
Yeah, I don't know
that's concept. Yeah.
And the biggest use case, or at least the first use case, wasn't anything industrial or important. It was gaming.
Of course.
It was multiplayer gaming and wanting faster ping times when you're playing a multiplayer game, against people. And so they said, well, if I'm just going to the edge and it's right here at the, out my window, then it's going to be faster. But what is the problem with the edge, folks?
It sucks.
Orchestration of the edge. It means instead of all of us video game players going to one cloud, what it means is all us video game players are going to thousands or millions of little edge locations. And all those edge locations have to be pushed out from some central place, updated, and then they still have to talk through something to get to, because my edge is going to be different than Jan's edge.
Yeah.
And it's actually way more complex than the cloud.
You haven't even gotten to pricing model. What's it kind of, how are you going to price something to a company that wants to do it?
Yeah.
So I still believe, edge on the factory near the source of the machine makes sense. But edge and base stations, that's tough.
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth the money that you'd have to spend, and the complexity of the software to make it work is hard.
I don't think so either. But it's just I was just interested because you talked about it, that it was part of the standard, and it'll be interesting to see if somebody's done anything with it.
Well, I mean, it goes back to this willingness to think beyond the capability sets, and then the services that you would offer with a Mac, right, or mobile edge computing thing. And when all of your stuff is, let's say, downlink focused and pushing stuff out, well, you already have CDNs to do that. So but this lack of focus on what is required for the other theoretical, killer use cases, if you're not going to make that fundamental change to, also make things going up better, that edge computing model, that opportunity just disappears, right? Because, and one of the things I brought up is it's the hype that gets everything wrong, not the technology. Is you guys believed in all of these hypothetical killer use cases, but you never thought through, well, what would have to change in the network? And you haven't made the change in the network. And so all this industrial stuff will probably not happen until there's, unless, let's say, 5G Advanced actually drives a fundamental shift in the way we design certain networks, right, that are, let's say, uplink dependent.
You have to
right
build,
now, man. Look, I mean,
build a reverse CDN.
Yeah.
How? And so if all your IoT devices are on-prem in your skyscraper or your factory or your corporate campus or whatever, and they're all up, but maybe they all need to go up to an edge location that looks like a router or something. And then from there, you've got symmetrical, high speed 10 gigabit circuit or something crazy, fiber.
Yeah.
And in the event you happen to be using one of the public clouds, each one of them actually has, they call them different things, but they have a mechanism by which you can send a private network connection right into your cloud environment instead of going over the open internet. Again, they all have different names. I think Azure was called ExpressRoute. I forgot, AWS and Google have different names for theirs. Everybody's got one. And so you could always do that, I suppose. And so, Jan, I think you should get to work building a reverse CDN for IoT.
Just
it's the problem. The problem is to find that killer app or killer use case. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the killer use case for it. But it's an interesting technology. I think if I was going to think about something, and I wouldn't be doing it, but the idea from a manufacturing perspective is there's tons of data that comes so fast at you that you don't want to send up to the cloud because it's the results that are relevant, not the actual data. But the problem there is then I will probably still be paying for the data transmission to the tower. And so it wouldn't benefit me not to send it all the way up to the cloud because I already paid for it.
Right, but it could serve as, let's say, an offload point, right? So let's say that you needed additional capacity that wasn't available and you could tap into, and let's say that you have these peaks, right? It could serve that function of, being a source of, offload compute. I mean, that's one example.
Absolutely. There's definitely the thing, of course, from my perspective, that always hit me is that I'm not a factory. If I was one factory and I could talk to Verizon and figure out how to do that, that would be easy, right? But I'm an OEM, so I have, I got 50,000 customers all over the globe, and so the amount of vendors I would have to talk to develop an application would be crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, think about it. In order to transmit all that data from the shop floor to that edge site, you need a massive uplink pipe, right?
Probably. Exactly, and that's why
low latency, and you're going to do that with fiber.
That's why I moved the edge to the actual equipment, right? Like Rob saying, we have a small Linux box, right, with some capability, and we'll collect some data there, process it, and send the results up, right? But we wouldn't send all of it up at all. We wouldn't, like vibration data, a crazy amount of data, right? But the raw data is not relevant. It's the results that are.
Yeah.
I think, Steph. What do you think?
I know it takes me back to that 5G factory tour that I took. I guess it was sometime in the spring
Yeah, like
And
3 weeks, months ago, right? Isn't it
I don't
crazy?
know. It feels like it was forever ago, but when we ask the hard questions about, well, are you using cellular in your factory? And in reality, it was all just little small use cases, nothing that's actually scaled or anything. So, and I mean, that just goes to tell you when the equipment manufacturers aren't doing that in their own factories, and they're selling it and they're trying to sell that. So it speaks for
Yeah.
itself. It's not there yet. It's not there for robotics. It's not there. I mean, when you have a great fiber infrastructure, you do not need 5G in your factory. So I think it comes down to use cases and applicability.
Mm.
If assets are moving and away from a structure that's
Yeah.
sitting there,
Yeah.
maybe then we'll start talking about some actual use cases where there's some fits. But
Mm.
for a building that's just sitting there,
Mm.
yeah,
you're right.
it doesn't make sense.
Also, the people who run a factory. So let's go back to Jan here. There's something else that flies in the face of all the stuff we're talking about. And this has to do with factory plant owners, critical infrastructure, all kinds of stuff that actually says, data doesn't leave my factory. They're still throwing around the very old term air gapped.
Yeah.
They're still talking about segmenting the stuff. And so that discussion flies in the face of everything we are talking about right now.
It's getting less and less, though. I think we have some of our, large strategic accounts that's still there, and of course we have all the infrastructure of customers like nuclear plants and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely, right.
Yeah.
But we're seeing that the benefit overweighs the issues with it, so that the things we can do if we have the data that can help our customers are starting to kind of take over a little bit more. And so it becomes back to really a cybersecurity evaluation at that level where we have to kind of describe our infrastructure, how we're protecting it, and then we're a little bit in the more we have a better advantage, because if you look at what we're collecting, typically it is like, for example, compressors. We are collecting data about the compressors delivering compressed air to a manufacturing plant. We're not on the packaging line. We're not on the supply lines. We're not on the recipe system. The data we're collecting is just how is the utility running that is compressed air. So it's not any different than the power company is pulling data from the power meters back to them to understand how the electricity is, right? So I'm telling my customers often enough that if the data you can use that we're collecting, you can see what the shift schedule is, you can see if the light's on in the factory, but basically that's it. So we're not collecting. So more important for our customers is if any of the devices that we put in, can they be used as a gateway to get further into the system? And that's the other part. By using cellular, we're not connecting to their network at all. If the first hacker, I guess, that can find a way to through Modbus, like serial Modbus, penetrate back into the back-end system of a customer, he deserves all the praise that you can give him if he can figure that out, right? So
yeah, but let me ask you guys this, and so yeah, there's a lot of talk about unified namespace and getting data out, and the fact that you have data pretty much just solely egressing, nothing really going into an industrial environment. What about attacks on that data that create misinformation, right? That jack everything up, and then the controls and the orchestration that comes down are wrong. Do you guys hear anyone talking about that? Because everyone talks about how, we have to have the separate cloud, and we're going to throw all the crap out there so everyone can see it, and then it's secure because we're hardening these environments, and there's only an egress of data. Nothing comes in to potentially compromise the controls and operations of industrial environment. I mean, did you guys hear anyone talk about the risks of having, that data being compromised and fed back in spreading?
Yeah, so I would say a lot of the solutions are read-only if it's an OEM, right? If I'm putting data into our system, we're just reading. We're not writing anything back. If we are writing anything back to a customer system, we're putting a computer there that's like a master controller or something like that, right? But we're not from a cloud writing anything back.
No, but what about your cloud getting compromised?
Yeah, so the data that we're utilizing is basically identifying what we call insights. So if we can see that, yeah, exactly, insights. If we can see that something is going to happen to the machine within the next 30 days, that could be a catastrophic breakdown, or be the machine's just going to stop working because it's going to go in a state that we already know is a known state. So we're using that data in order to predict that with machine learning, et cetera. And we are doing a lot there from a data cleansing perspective to make sure that the data that goes into the model is reliable. So if somebody is messing with that data, first of all, if they mess with one machine, we're doing machine learning models around thousands of machines, right? So there'll be a minor blimp in that information. But again, it's also something about focus. If we got hackers, they're going to find the right focus that has an impact. Going to an OEM and messing with their data that's generating some information back in the portal to our customers, I think there's no real value in that. It's not something you can make money off of.
Sure.
You can make a little bit of disruption, but it will hit so very few. Again, it's also a part of focus, right? Where do we think hackers will really go in? So if they can penetrate a Linux device sitting at a nuclear plant somehow, right? That's something that could be interesting, right? And when you're looking at the activity around changing data, you saw the whole issue with Iran nuclear power plant, right? They were changing set points in order to make the plants run differently. And so that's where you will find, areas of general utility like electricity, water. If you can go in there and change something so that you can stop the water, or you can set the temperature up to too high, or whatever it is, right? That's where somebody that's not making money off of, but just trying to disrupt. That's like nation state kind of hacking, right? That's what they're going to focus on. That they're not going to go into OEMs, but they're going to find some key critical infrastructures, large customers, large manufacturers that for some reason the corporation has upset the country or whatever. They're going to go find ways to go in and disrupt something that they're doing. But you're right. There's some areas there that companies that knows that they're in the focus area, they got to think about.
Yeah, no, and I'm not picking on vendors. I'm also just I'm just asking the question, and I guess against this broader thinking that everything needs to go to the cloud. We still hear that, right? So
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Rob, I'd love your perspective on this because, with your new role, you don't talk about IoT anymore. You talk about the edge and the cloud. And
sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I was just buying some stock, but whatever. No, I really was actually.
I knew you were doing something.
There's a particular stock that we all know that's really low these days. And so I was like, you know what, maybe it's time to back up the truck a little bit and pick up some, I don't know, I think there's a stock that's down around $20 or $21 a share. That's been beaten up a little bit, and so, if you're a follower of value investing like Warren Buffett or Paul Graham or any of those guys, you're looking for a company that's on sale.
Yeah.
And so there's a particular company, I won't say any names, that we all know about that's on sale big time right now. It's not NVIDIA. Oh man.
And NVIDIA is bigger than most nations.
Yeah, it is. You're right. Isn't that wild?
Insanity.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
More nations. Yeah.
as Leonard often reminds you, this show is for entertainment purposes only. Do not.
Yes.
So unfortunately, this is not live. Like people are not watching this live, but if they were, they would be doing a little research like we are. Right?
What did he just buy for $20?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
And unfortunately, Rob, you're not in Congress, so we can't track what it is you're buying.
Yeah.
We are. Take us.
Are you talking about the people who followed the Nancy Pelosi stock?
Yeah, exactly.
That's so ridiculous. It's funny. It is.
They are beating the market.
It's not funny when it's real, and it does hurt. It beats the market. I don't know how she gets this information that helps her.
Both sides of the aisle are getting rich, and we're just sitting back for them. What about our stock tips? We need those stock tips.
Yeah.
Right.
Insider trading.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Edge, cloud. Yes. Sovereignty, data, blah, blah, blah.
Data being compromised, bad data coming in from the hackers. Are they more focused on in disrupting the actual actions of the software code, or are they putting data in that causes a new output or alert or something that's causing some kind of disruption to a business or an industry?
Yeah.
Factory.
We always used to think of cybersecurity as this afterthought, and now it really has to be front and center. And I know we've said it needs to be front and center for a long time, and no one ever does it. But everybody's just getting hacked to death now. Industry 4.0, digital transformation, all these cool things we talk about, all those megatrends can be shot in the head and killed instantly by cybersecurity problems, by hackers. So all your cool plans of how you're going to transform your business or your manufacturing will all die if you are not taking care of security. It's true. And
Are you trying to scare people?
Yes. We're trying to scare people.
So I was thinking about something, and I know you took the A off of IoT, but you know how they have the denial of service attacks?
Yeah.
How about, generative AI, they have not denial of service, but really populating wrong data through the learning engine.
That's right. Yes.
I don't know how a hacker will do that, but I can see opportunities for it.
I've heard the term a while back called data poisoning, where the data that goes into the model being trained is bad data, and it's pushed in there into the whatever, the model, the LLM, the whatever, and so it's just buried deep inside with all this other stuff, and nobody knows it. And so then you're right, ChatGPT tells you something crazy, and you believe it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
And another way I'd like to scare people around cybersecurity is to bring Bill Pugh on stage for
the Super Mario.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Because he's scary, Mr. Cybersecurity. You're all going to die. Or the scariest cybersecurity thing I saw recently was when I went into Costco and they already have Halloween stuff out ready, showing off, and so that was scary.
Well, wait a minute. The one over here where we're at literally has Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas stuff at the same time.
That's messed up.
We want your damn money.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're right. The executives got together in a war room going, our earnings are going to suck next quarter. What are we going to do? And it's like,
push everything in.
Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, right now. All of it in there. Do it.
Yeah, you know what? It's like 5G, right? Everyone said, hey, you're going to get all these features like day one in 2020. And then.
Yeah. It's like, dude, you're getting the tell.
Yeah. On the back end, it doesn't work out.
Right.
So, on any end, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Not so much. How are things in Dripping Springs?
You know what? It actually, the weather's nice. The weather is really, I mean,
Oh, in the morning, maybe.
yeah. And then, I mean, but like it was 104 degrees, but the humidity was like 48.
Like
Really?
Arizona heat, like Arizona.
Arizona. Yeah, I like that. That's
Wow.
That's crazy.
I know.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I post stuff like, oh, it's 58 degrees in Seattle right now in August, and then everybody in Texas, Dallas is 106, Houston's 103. And then there's the whatever the feels like or whatever temperature because of the humidity that Houston has, and and Dallas has a little bit too. And it's like, oh, it feels like 115,
Yeah, it was 106 yesterday in Forney, Texas, right outside of Dallas.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was nice this morning out in the hill country. Yeah, it was. I mean, I'm still wearing my sweatshirt from after dropping the kid off in Fredericksburg. So yeah, weird.
Wow. What you don't know is she's in her Tahoe with the AC cranked full blast. And she's got her sweatshirt on.
And my heater on my back because I'm old. So same time.
AC blasting here, heated seats on the back, creating the illusion that it's wonderful outside. Yeah, I love that. That's great.
Typical Texan.
Yeah.
I was excited to see, unrelated to tech, how the William Chris winery out there, out on 290, out y'all's way, got some good awards, like globally recognized.
And who knew that they were a top, amongst the top, what was it, 25 in wine producers?
I never would have guessed. I
was like, in Fredericksburg, Texas? That's wild.
What is the name of the little town?
Stonewall.
It's Stonewall, and then is it High or
High? Yeah, HYE. Yeah, High.
Yeah. Wow.
Not far from Bill. He's closest to all the wineries.
Bill comes this way, Stephanie goes that way, and we meet in the middle under the Georgia pines. Oh no! I was thinking of another song.
I tried to think of that song.
I love that song. Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. It's good to see, because obviously I did lots of bashing a long time ago of Texas wineries getting all their juice from Paso Robles and Napa and stuff like that. And then some of them are getting it from the, Llano Estacado region, which is up there in the Texas Panhandle, higher elevation, a little cooler. But William Chris is growing that stuff in the hill country. And, when I've had discussions about doing that at our ranch, which is about 20 or 30 miles from there, the first feedback I get was, oh, all the deer are going to eat your grapes.
Well, and the soil is very different there.
Yeah.
Fredericksburg has that they have that red dirt, that red soil in certain specific. It's a lot softer. Where you are, the Rock Springs Ranch is hardcore.
It's lots of limestone, which is a lot of stuff you see in France, and I think limestone's great for wine. I remember my grandfather used to say, if rocks were worth money, we'd be billionaires. But sadly, oh well. But yeah, maybe that could help. But yes, you got to work. And you know what I've also been told, and then I'll stop boring our audience here with wine stuff in the hill country. But in addition to maybe building a big deer fence around your vineyard, I was told that wild boars or wild hogs, you have to protect your stuff from those guys too. Are you guys seeing those all over the place? No,
I'm not where I'm at.
They are.
Yeah, they're not here either.
Yeah, we've got them bad in Bandera, and they come in under the fences, they dig, and then there's usually lots of babies, and they come in and they root in the ground. And so my husband's a wildlife biologist, so he talks about the erosion of the land as a result of, because, they're like cats. When they have offspring, there's 20 of them. So
I hear that this is a actual problem in Texas.
Yeah, that is why Texas wildlife actually allows the shooting of hogs out of helicopters, because that's how many there are.
That's what I was thinking. If we knew somebody who flew a helicopter and had like, minigun hanging out there both sides. Just all they do all day is fly around shooting those wild boar.
Oh my goodness.
Are they the ones with the tusks?
Chris doesn't want to be associated with any of that. He's like, no one knows how to shoot. He goes, they're not shooting my rollerblades. That's $20,000. Not having it.
Okay.
Only good friends have done that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, back to tech. So sorry, folks.
Back to 5G, cloud, edge, Foo Fighters. Oh, wait a minute.
It's not real. 5G.
Yeah.
As opposed to things that are real. Yeah. So sorry.
No.
So
hey,
the apps.
Yeah, and what have you been up to lately? We haven't seen you in a while. So
I know. I'm what have I been up to? Sometimes just meetings in the same slot that I can't avoid, but we've been doing some like development, planning, strategy workshops. And I've been running a couple of workshops, so a lot of work on planning and executing them. So maybe that's what I've been taking my time away from this fun group here. So yeah, I mean, there's some small changes I can see. I don't know if it's Rob with his new role has been dressed up a little bit more than from last.
Oh yeah. He's less.
Yeah, he stepped up his game. I see a little fanciness going on with that haircut.
Yeah, haircut. I think
it was a mistake.
Uh-oh.
They went
Rob likes to wear his hair a little long, so he probably walked away from that cut and was like, man, they chopped mine.
Right. And it really hit hard when I was at the Foo Fighters and, Dave Grohl's got his long hair. I'm like, I was heading in that direction. Yeah. Oh, man.
But yeah. One of the things that we're now looking at really is taking what we're doing to the next step, which is meaning really make a customer experience, a digital transformation of how we interact with our customers, so that our customers actually get not just IoT data, but the entire experience about their assets, of all the things that we're trying to do with it. Yeah. So that takes a lot of time right now, just to kind of develop that strategy and figure out how do we make it so that we're not like the typical manufacturing company that just shows a SCADA type screen to a millennial or a Gen Z that's not used to that. I mean, that's just we need to be more modern, more focused on mobile experiences and really, really nice and clean and modern experiences for other customers as well.
It's all about that dashboard, right, Bill?
That's right. Operational dashboard.
Not about the dashboard anymore. It's more
the
like
mobile. The mobile.
Yeah, it's more actionable. I mean, if I can't do anything with it, then I don't care about it, right? And
I heard actionable. I heard I'm all about. I put those together and I get our national treasure, Marshawn Lynch. He would always say, "I'm all about that action, bro."
Yeah, that's it.
We don't want to see reports. We want someone to tell us what's going on if there's an issue, a problem, or something I got to do.
That's
how do I easily then fix it, right? How do I go do something about it?
We termed operational dashboards in place of digital twins because I'm sick and effing tired of everyone having a digital twin and they don't know what the hell to do with it.
Yeah. Well, we had an interesting discussion, or at least the point of digital twin was discussed as it relates to the 6G and 5G network.
Oh my gosh.
And it was interesting because maybe everybody should just watch IoT Coffee Talk, because we already hashed this stuff out a long time ago. And I agree with the point of view, and it contradicts, or it's a little bit, let's say, counter to what Michael Greaves has posited, but it's more aligned with what we've talked about on IoT Coffee Talk, which is the digital twin is a mirror. It's not a photograph, right? And most people are calling the digital twin the mirror plus the photograph, but then when they describe their digital twin, it's a photograph. It's not the mirror, right? And in a mirror, you can see yourself as a reflection of yourself, but as you move, it perfectly emulates your state and your condition. and your posture. And that's not what a photo does. That's a static snapshot of a point in time. And that's what a lot of
You know
people.
that, Leonard,
Hmm?
people are out there still believing their digital model they built with CATIA or AutoCAD is a digital twin, and that's a photograph. It's just a model. A digital twin is alive.
Yeah.
Real physical twin, digital twin, data going.
Living, breathing, pulsating.
I'm looking just like because it's a mirror worlds. All right, there you go, folks.
And I'm telling you, dude, and you were like the first one to bring it up. Like, I think it was like episode 3 or something like that, IoT Coffee Talk, right? That was before Bill joined on, but Bill, totally tuned into all that stuff.
Bill, the wrecking machine of digital
Yeah.
and cybersecurity.
But man, people are just getting it so twisted. And it's funny because as they're talking about it, they're
Twisted
confusing
sister.
themselves. They go, well, digital twin. It's like, I don't know what it is.
You know what?
But, hey, we have one,
I think we're going to need to take a little just quick rock and roll break here.
All right, let me see what you got.
What is that?
Riders.
We might have to celebrate that here, right?
All right, where's
Is that you? Is that your hand?
Which case?
Where's your audio? We can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
Uh-uh.
You can't
Yeah.
hear it?
Noise reduction.
Oh,
I like to see you around kind of like.
you can't hear it?
No. We can hear a little bit.
You're gonna have to post that in the comments for on YouTube. Like do a little self video. We can't hear it. Boo.
You
It's
can't
not
hear the beginning of Everlong?
No.
No, it
I
can't.
hear it.
Okay, but I am on
Ew.
my stash account buying some stock.
Yeah.
Because
You guys are crazy. Yeah, the other thing that we talked about is this fixation on innovation and this complete lack of regard for execution. Everyone thinks they're an innovator and go, hey, we're innovating. It's like, well, what about execution? What about actually deploying the stuff and extracting value out of your innovation? And that's another big problem, right? So, anyway, it's weird.
anyway,
We
you're
keep
like,
having the same conversations, and I don't know why, but we aren't observing a change in behavior or thinking or anything like that. Going back to what we started off before, it's like a bunch of people doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Same mistakes, expecting a different result. And
Wait a minute, that's insanity, right?
Insanity.
Stupidity.
It's insanity.
Is it? No, insanity.
That's right.
the hype cycle equals insanity.
That's the definition of insanity. Yep.
The letdown. We are in the letdown phase.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing and expecting different results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, talking about letdown, I listened to a podcast the other day about Apple Vision,
Uh-huh.
and that Apple has not touched it really at all, and not that like they normally would do with other technologies, like develop infrastructure, move applications to it, etc. What's your impression now that you still have yours, Leonard?
No, I don't think it's actually slowing down. It's just not visible in the way that people expected.
Okay.
Like for instance, the number of shipments that people expected, that was analysts, right? I don't know if
So yeah.
they're just making numbers up and saying, oh, this is how many we think we're going to sell. But when you look at what's happening in the media industry and the new formats that are and new modalities of cinema that people are looking at using, you just call it spatial content, or I don't think that's stopped. And they still have a long way to go. And then, the device has tons of headroom. That's why it's expensive. Where I think it's kind of goofy is people saying, oh, they're working on a cheaper one. It's like, no, the cheaper one's already here. It's the Vision Pro. They'll take Pro off and they'll call it, Vision. And then the next version is going to cost $4,000 and it's going to be the Pro.
Yeah, but I just
You know what?
you've been using it with applications. Have you seen like Apple starting to focus and move stuff over to it that currently only works on an iPad or whatever? And
Yeah. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
There was someone analyst that was talking about that they were not
It was,
seeing Apple making the transition as they normally would.
I
And
think
that
it's
was talking
happening,
about
but
it. Sorry,
it's
go ahead.
happening. It's just not as like you just don't hear a lot about it. The other news I came across because I'm a Fitbit owner
Mhm.
and I've always kept it, even though I've used Samsung and Android and I have Apple as well. But they are retiring. Google's like saying we're closing that down. So the whole
Oh,
Fitbit
Wow.
community is going to be bye bye.
What are you saying, Willie?
oh,
Yeah.
you know what? You're gonna have to take your Fitbit watch and put it next to your Pebble watch.
Fitbit,
Oh my God.
Pebble, like what else? It's like if it's not part of your smartphone, the little wearables market has really those have really have seen a lot of death. You know, a lot of brands that have just died off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
Also because the vendors kind of close it off. Like for example, like the Fitbit data can't go into the Apple Health information, even though it's the same stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
they kind of lock it off.
Yeah, they try to integrate with different health monitoring type apps, but it didn't bring on the masses. So
let your Fitbit get into a walled garden of Apple. So sorry,
Right.
Mr. Powers.
But you know,
Leonard, new news. What just happened in the last couple days with AMD? Do we have some new tech news to talk about?
yeah.
yeah. Hey, come on, dude. You're like the
Speaking of stocks,
cloud guy now. You tell me what you think of.
Yeah, I'm a cloud guy now after I invented Azure, whatever. Anyway, $4.9 billion to buy a builder of servers, basically. Apparently they build network switches
Systems,
stuff
yeah.
and things like that.
Skill systems, yeah.
And it says that they're primarily building this stuff for hyperscalers. Is that right? And so
Yeah.
I'm wondering what is the rationale or the background thinking, because it's like there's AMD, they've always been traditionally battling it out with Intel, and that's always back and forth. They've always been a little tiny baby sister because they're dramatically smaller than Intel, but then Intel's been getting destroyed by NVIDIA, and now AMD, are they trying to compete on AI when they do this, or are they trying to compete with Intel? Because what they just bought doesn't do anything for AI.
No, it does for the generative AI supercomputing stuff, right? So these guys have been putting together servers and I mean just these data centers for these hyperscalers, and that includes all the crazy NVL72s and the hot
Crazy 747.
yeah the
Yeah.
H100 H200 all that stuff.
Well,
They've been doing all that for the hyperscalers. So
what are they?
and the engineering shops.
Here's what we learned a long time ago with the hyperscalers. They started out buying off-the-shelf gear to build their centers. That's what you do. You buy Dell or HP or Lenovo or whoever. And they bought Cisco gear for the networks and everything. And then they realized, this is way too expensive. And all these things keep failing all the time. And you build the cloud designed for failure. The software keeps it alive. Servers are failing every few minutes.
Yeah.
And then pretty soon they all started building custom servers. They started building their own networking gear and everything. And they quit using Cisco and Dell and HP. And they all have custom, I've seen in the Microsoft, it's called a sled.
Yeah.
Just most and they learned a lot of this, believe it or not just from Google. They learned it from Facebook because Facebook built the planetary scale system, because
like literally a single workload. You know what I'm saying? Which is their platform. Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, are those guys building these sleds, these super stripped down servers that hyperscalers use? Do the hyperscalers don't use them? I get the idea of, if I buy them and we'll tell them, put AMD chips in them instead of Intel or NVIDIA, and that's how we'll win. maybe.
trying to,
The
but you know,
customer has to order this stuff and say, I want this versus that. Now, Sarbjeet said something that to me, like, oh, don't worry, they're going to offload all the manufacturing and just keep the engineering and design talent.
yeah, which is
So,
what they're going to do. Yeah.
but it sounds like that company is almost a custom competitor to Dell and HP and Lenovo.
Yeah,
build
they're like an ODM-ish kind
They're
of.
like an ODM.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
bigger things. That's what they sound like to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to help AMD or not. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is. And they'll probably make some of it back spinning off the manufacturing part, right? The ODM part, but keeping the engineers and then having them be closer to the customer and the end product, which is basically a generative AI supercomputing data center. It definitely gets them in the.
Just your favorite.
It's like an
M&A
accelerator. Call it an accelerator.
Your favorite M&A due diligence guy. I was the one who said to Ericsson buying Vonage for $6 billion. Oh, they've had to write down the whole $6 billion.
Oh yeah.
To me, I was okay with Cradlepoint, Vonage, and so I'm not really sure about this thing either. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it's a lot of money. I hate when you buy lots of people. I hate when I see consulting firms get bought.
Yeah.
That's because I've seen it happen. I've seen big
It
companies
happens all the
buy
time, man.
We bought a bunch of people.
Oh, yeah.
Well, wait a minute. I mean, just you said that, and that just triggered me, okay? Because Cap Gemini bought Unity.
Mm-hmm.
They're buying the accounts. Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Come on, right? Yeah.
And
People
they
and
paid a pretty
relationships.
penny for it.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. It's just
Oh,
bizarre.
and you know what? I have no, Rob, I don't think you're wrong in kind of making fun of the price that they're paying, because I mean, look at all the metaverse properties that were bought. I mean, Microsoft and what Microsoft did, so many other companies have done through these hype cycles. They've paid a ridiculous premium. Ericsson with Vonage, they paid a ridiculous premium because of how Twilio was valued, and it was all nonsense. And again,
It's all nonsense.
this goes back to what we started off our conversation with, right? Is that hype hurts. It is not constructive. It doesn't drive innovation. It drives delusion, right? And the innovation usually doesn't anything valuable usually doesn't happen from the hype. It just is a natural expression of the technology at that time and some people who are trying to solve friggin' problems, not chase fantasy and friggin' Dungeons and Dragons nonsense, right?
Well, and when the technologists lead with that, then what happens is the large corporations go, man, we got to shift our priorities. We need to be focusing on AI. We need to be focused on where we're investing in AI for our business. And it's just like a trickle down effect. And then they're not, the vendors can't meet expectations. The use cases aren't valuable. And then you're like in a horrible circle. So they've already trickled it down to people that are like, oh my gosh, if they're talking about this, we should be investing in this. We need to be doing something for our own company. And then they're not meeting expectations.
Yeah.
Most expensive case of FOMO that I've heard of.
Yeah. And I don't know.
Right.
But the cycle continues. You get a new hump of nonsense, and generative AI will be replaced by another, nonsense, which is probably quantum intelligence, and it goes on and on.
We need to recreate the hype cycle with our terminology on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I still have your post up, Leonard, and I've been meaning to respond to it, but the same thing falls in place of the marketing machine and proof of concept, the marketing machine and pilots. The marketing machine is behind all of that. And I'm like, I get it, but again, what problem are you solving?
You're only exploring whether or not you can solve a problem. You haven't solved it, right? You're so far away from actually delivering value, and they include that in these estimates, man. It's like, oh, adoption. Enterprises are adopting Gen AI.
Back to apps and solving problems. Don't know if it'll solve any problems, but I just want to shout out to my good friend Will I Am, who just launched his new AI app called FYI.
That man always stays in the tech space. He just can't get away from it.
Will I Am is a tech futurist genius. In addition,
I don't know about if these guys are geniuses. I mean,
Pally High, man.
Well, okay, so let me ask you this: How much do you think Snoop Dogg's property in Digiland, or whatever the hell that thing's called, was it Decentraland, is worth now?
I don't know, a lot, probably.
His name's on it, so it's worth a lot.
But I'm a believer in Will.
He got paid at the Olympics. Dude got paid.
So I was listening on Fox Business in my car on XM to the Clayman countdown, and she had Will I Am on the show, and he talked all about how they've been building this thing. It's using AI. It's going to help creators create new music, create all kinds of stuff. I just downloaded it. I haven't played with it yet, but yeah. I think it's interesting. You know, I want to check it out.
All right.
Check it out. Give us your assessment.
Oh my God.
Read and shout and let it all out.
I'll let you do that.
We're way over. We're like 5 minutes over. So we got
it's because of the music.
We got to shut this thing down. So
yeah.
Who wants to take us out?
Stephanie's got to take us out because she's
Stephanie,
never here.
Yeah, no kidding.
I know. I tell you guys, I have been so busy, and I had to move the kid in, and I've got lots of projects, and I'm shuffling all around.
That's right. He had to move the kid into his tiny little dorm room for school. Yeah.
Yeah, his tiny dorm room that's bigger than every dorm or first apartment I've ever seen.
Nobody's getting spoiled there at all.
Spoiled. Today's his first day of classes, and he's got geology and geology lab.
All right.
Dirt.
Well, we're gonna say?
We
and don't screw it up, kid.
Yeah. Don't mess with my money. You better do the work, buddy.
Put your money on your mind.
And I am tracking you. I'm tracking you on my iPhone. I see where you're at. All right, we'll wrap this up. So today we jumped into quite a few things, and we
Insanity
loved
and stupidity.
We loved how Rob brought it back to Foo Fighters and the winery.
Yeah.
But we talked about cloud and edge computing. We talked about the insanity hype cycle, which we think needs to be recreated with our terminology, which would make way more sense because we keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. The insanity. This is the insanity episode, right?
Yeah.
So, but to wrap it up, we need you guys to donate. We need you to donate to elevateourkids.org. Buy the swag. We got some really cool sweatshirts and some swag. Buy the swag because 100% of the proceeds go to elevateourkids.org. 100%. And check out all the episodes at iotcoffeetalk.com. Until next time, peace.
Oh, and for all you in Texas, I will be down there in the first week of September. I've got a conference in Houston. Maybe I should take a rental car and make an excursion to the Hill Country.
Ooh, I'll be in Houston the weekend of September 7th.
I'm leaving that Saturday, I think. Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe I should meet a couple of you guys at a winery on 290 during that.
I can do that. I'll be in town that week.
All right. Let's make it happen. I want to go check out what's new with William Chris.
Yeah, we should meet at William Chris. Yes, we'll do that.
All right.
All right.
You guys.
Y'all have a good rest of the week. Bye.
Keep it real.